Okay, welcome everyone to the webinar for the quarter. Time flies when you're having fun. We're into our third one of the year already. We're going to be talking about invisible skills of effective change people today. I'm going to be your facilitator. With me today, Sarah Gorsh, Kim Garrett, business partners. Both will be providing a role either to chime in and add their 2 cents. Make sure the recording works, and just, in general, keep me on the track that I'm supposed to be on today. So thank you both for being here. I'm the change expert around here, so I'm going to be leading this talk today. No Jackie. She has another commitment. So those of you that tuned to see her, she sends her love. Hello. And let's just dig in a little bit. About half the people on the call I know us, and there's some new folks here. So just a little bit about us. Slingshot25, we are in the business of building leaders. We believe your world needs great leaders, and you should be one. And we're in business to help build great leaders. That's what we do. We teach skills, we coach, we do training and change management. And we've been doing it a long time. We worked in corporate. So a lot of our examples, our stories, some of you have heard some of our stories a few times. We've been there and we've done that. And so we're here with our webinar and our training content and our coaching content to share what we've learned and hopefully help you feel more confident, bring new skills, bring new ideas to the work you're trying to do. At Slingshot, we do everything that's about a leader. So our products and services are really about the leader is the center of everything we do. So you can go to the next slide, Kim, whether it's about thinking about your impact on others, which is what change management services do. I'm a leader and I'm making a decision, and it's going to have an impact on people. Or if it's about me as a leader, figuring out how to talk to my people, how to have tough conversations, how to set goals. Or I'm a leader and I have people that have to work together and they're not doing that very well and the team's not performing. We do all that kind of work because at the foundation of everything we do is leader training, whether it is HR people or executive leaders deciding like we need to up our leadership skill game, or you have new leaders that are coming to your organization and they don't have the skills we need. We specialize in building that foundation so that you really know that at the end of the day, your world needs better leaders and you're doing the things you need to do to create them, support them, because how your company goes is how your leadership goes. And you can't achieve your objectives or reach your goals without it. So that's what we do. For those of you that are new to us or you're not following us, please subscribe. We do a ton of free stuff. We put our Jack Chat out. We do shotcasts. We have these webinars. So there's a lot of opportunities. We love to share our ideas and we love to share content and we love to share tricks and we love to share experience. So if you're not following us, do that because we have lots of neat stuff and we think it's helpful. We hope it's helpful. That's why we build it, is to help you. Okay, so why are we here today? Dun, 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 the invisible skills of change people. I was asked, probably maybe by someone on this call today, one of our customers, to talk to their team. This is a couple years ago that I built this lesson, and I've never brought it into a webinar, and I just felt compelled to share it with you all today. She said, Courtney, I have a lot of people that are doing change management for the first time. Will you come and talk to them about what it is? What are change people really? Next slide. And so that's what we're gonna unpack today. Like, who are change people? What are you really doing? What makes good change people good, and what makes the great ones great? The truth is, those of you on this call, you showed up because you want to learn more about change management because you're doing the work. Some of you are doing that with a change practitioner title. Most of you aren't. The rest of you are project managers, team leads, HR business partners who are at the point where the rubber's hitting the road, the decision's been made, and all the implications, all the impacts of that decision are having to get sorted out on a day by day, minute by minute, kind of, mini crisis by mini crisis moment in time. And the things that make you really good at that aren't apparent to a lot of people. It's almost like deep in your heart that if you stepped away from this project or this thing that's going on, that it would kind of fall apart without you because you're the one in there having the conversation, anticipating the need, connecting the dots for people, picking up pieces of the puzzle and putting them into place. You're doing that out of a sense of responsibility, a sense of this is just the stuff that needs done. And what this talk, what if you guys get nothing else out of this talk today, I just want you to get a sense of validation that those kind of invisible things, right? Having a tough conversation, sharing bad news, listening to people, connecting dots, holding people accountable conversations. That stuff is invisible and it's real and it's important. Your teams depend on it. Your projects depend on it. You're real. You're like the M&M commercial when Santa met M&Ms and they go, you do exist. I'm here to tell you, I know you exist. I know how hard your work is. And I want to have this talk to give you some words and language for the things that you do that maybe aren't as tangible and concrete as a project schedule or a budget review or an ops deck. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive in today and talk about change people. What are these invisible skills of which you speak, Courtney? Here's a list. It's not an all-inclusive list, but it's kind of like, I'm old, like a Dave Letterman top 10. This is like a Courtney Smock top 5. Can we make that a thing, Kim Garrett? Like I could do a card and we could throw it. Okay, great. I look forward to that. I see a video series coming now. Yikes, I better be careful what I say. The invisible skills of change people are to influence. Really, really good change people are influence. I'm going to talk to you about that, what it is, what it's not. Really good change people are systems thinkers. We're going to talk about that. Chaos pilot. What the heck's a chaos pilot? Hopefully some of you are probably hearing that word maybe for the first time, and the rest of you maybe have heard it because you've heard it from me and maybe heard it somewhere else. But navigating chaos, it's a real part of the job. Oh, agitator. Agitator. It's not just the part in the washing machine that, spins the clothes dry. There's an agitator role that change people play. And this lovely little phrase that I call righteous responsibility. These are the top 5 invisible skills that I think if you're on this call, you probably possess. Or you're on this call, you're in a change role, and maybe things aren't working for you as well as they might because you need to develop more of this skill. So let this talk be a validation on the stuff you're doing well, and maybe a little insight on where you want to get some help and support and development on the areas that you don't feel you're as confident. You can use it, flip the glass either way. All right, so let's talk about influence. What is it? We talk about influence a lot. My favorite definition of influence is to change someone or something in an indirect but important way. Indirect but important. We think about being leaders. I think when we think of a leader, we think about the direct ways that leaders change things, right? Leaders make decisions, they allocate resources, they assign tasks, they hold people accountable. There's a very direct, if I do this, then that thing's going to come back. There's a strong cause and effect, right? If you're really good at influencing, there's a pause and a space between the thing you do and the action that happens. If you think about dominoes, anybody ever set up dominoes or watched like a Rube Goldberg project where everything's, oh my God, I just had a flashback of doing those with my kids in middle school. Yikes. But there's an action, once it's taken, is going to unleash some energy and some move things. And if you're really good at influence, you make the stuff happen, but you never get to touch the dominoes. Not really. Those dominoes are going to go over because you move something in an indirect way. It's almost like there was an idea, there was a decision, and then there's a pause and space for some things to happen. And then either other people or other situations or other things actually move the stuff. You don't get to touch them. And here's the thing. Some people like to direct action. They want to be the one that pushes the button, tips over the domino, do the thing. Like they want to directly impact work. And they like how that feels, and that's the control they want in the kind of assignments they have. If you are a change person that loves it, and some of you are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know about myself. Like I love to influence. I absolutely love setting up dominoes and watching things tip over without touching them. And I didn't know that was a thing, but it is. I remember very early in my career being at a meeting where I had an opinion about the direction a project should go. And through gathering data and talking to some decision makers and talking to my not so supportive people and getting their input and getting their buy-in, I went to a meeting where when the meeting happened where the decision was going to be made, they made the decision I wanted them to make, but I didn't say a word in the meeting. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever because I get satisfaction out of influencing things. I think my sister's on this call, like she knows I will just say like, hey, at Christmas, I say, geez, we could use a garbage can for all this paper. And usually my brother, but someone runs off and gets it. I don't get the garbage can, but I just sort of say the thing and then people do stuff. It's not always that easy. My brother's very helpful. But for you, kind of check in. How do you feel about influence? What's different to you between when you get to touch the domino? Is it important to you? Some people that don't have influence, like they feel really disappointed that all this stuff happens and they never got to touch the dominoes. And other of us on this call, and I know you're with me on this, you get complete excitement, joy, purpose out of watching things happen through others. And that's completely satisfying and not just something you settle for, like you love it. How much else can we move? Where else can we make an impact through others? How can we set up the pieces so that the right things happen? Right, wrong, you say, but I don't, not completely judgmental. In order to influence, you have to change someone. You have to see them. You have to talk to them. You have to be willing to be in conversations. You have to be insanely curious. You have to be willing to change your point of view, right? So that you can build a connection and maybe get people to do things that they didn't think about doing or maybe didn't even want to do. I'm going to pause. I'm not looking at the Q&A. Oh, I should say, guys, if you have comments or questions about anything I'm saying, I prefer positive comments, but you can put whatever you want in the Q&A. Sarah's going to be peeking at those. She'll let us know if there's questions in there. I'll try, but if I do, I have ADD and I'll get distracted. So anything in the Q&A or comments?
Nothing yet, but yeah, I recommend people go ahead and put their just, I mean, I know it says Q&A, but comments in there is fine. And yeah, I'll just kind of bust in from time to time if there's something there that we need to talk about.
Awesome. So I think influence is the first, like maybe the foundational invisible skill because you cannot watch a movie. Like you can watch a movie of someone breakdancing. I don't know why I picked breakdancing, but you can watch it. How do you watch someone influence? It's kind of invisible, it's intangible, and it's very, very real, and it's very, very powerful. So ask yourself, how much do I love this? How good am I at it? Where do I want to improve? What opportunities do I have to grow this skill? Because it's very fundamental for change. There's a whole lot of decisions that you didn't make, but you got to get them adopted by people who didn't ask for them. It requires a lot of influence. All right, the next one is system thinking. System thinkers see all the complexity of the situation, and they're insanely good at seeing the whole system, the connection between things. I think there's a superpower in cause and effect. So people with really strong this system thinking skills don't just see the action. Okay, if we do this, then this will happen. That's fine, but systems thinkers say, wow, there's a whole environment here. These people depend on this information. That report's going to have this data. If we change this, that group's no longer going to be able to see that. Is that what we want? And an ability to break this really complex, like, let's face it, leaders just say, oh, it's a decision. We're going to fill in the blank. We're going to launch a new product. It looks like one thing to them, launch a new product. But truly, launching a new product is very complex. There are lots of pieces to it. There's a lot of dependencies on it. There's a lot of places that data is going to flow and customers are going to see things and employees are going to need stuff. And you looking at your project, if you're a system thinker, can process what are the wheels and cogs and how are things going to touch? And once we move it, what's no longer going to line up? And as a result, what problems might come up? And they bring it back to say, okay, that's a great idea, right? And I see where we're going and I see the decision. Now, we got to talk about the fact that we're no longer going to have access to this data and what that means to how we generate reports, right? And so we're throwing things on the table. We're bringing things back to the project teams because of our what the root of it is your ability to system think, your ability to see the whole thing and say, hey, if we put stuff in, is the right stuff going to come out? And if it gets stuck in there somewhere, it's because I'm able to draw the lines and kind of see, like, oh my goodness, how come no one's talking about it? Sometimes you sit in a meeting, I know you have. You're like, why is no one talking about what's going to happen to the return orders now? I just make stuff up. I don't know what y'all do. And you're like, the only thing you can see, like if you're a really strong system thinker, it's almost like the world is this canvas, like a diagram, and it just sort of starts radiates at you of like, oh my goodness, there's a problem with there's gonna be a problem with returns here. Sometimes you can't even articulate it. It just bothers you looking at it. You're like something's not right, something's not lining up. Your intuition is like, we better look at that. The root of that is your ability to be a system thinker, to pull back and see the connection between things. And you're able to navigate, you're able to pull back and look at the whole thing, and then you're able to dive in and fix an issue, and then you pull back again. Can you take that complexity, drill in to fix the problem, look at it again, right? That's system thinking. There's a whole bunch of, a whole bunch of skills and books and things on system thinking, but I think it's a really critical part of being a change person. And I think the reason it lands where it does, like this thinking lands on change people, is those gaps, whatever they are going to come with issues. They're going to come with a lack of clarity. They're going to come with a lack of process maturity. They're going to come a lack quality issues. And change people are like, oh my goodness, if this is going to be adopted, we can't have those things. And you just start backing up and saying, on day one, this stuff has to work. What's going to stop it from doing that? There's a problem in the system. Let's fix it before day one. What about this? What about that? Right? That's a skill. And no one, I don't know how many of you have been tested or given feedback or anyone's ever said, hey, I think you'd be a better change person if you really worked on your systems thinking. I just don't think people talk, like, I don't think people realize how critical and helpful it is to be a system thinker when you're doing change management work. Okay, let's talk about the next one.
Hey, Courtney, I have a question real quick
Fire
on
away.
this topic. So the question is, do you think there's a difference between a global thinker versus a system thinker?
I would say all global thinking requires systems thinking, but not all systems thinking is global. Right. So a global thinker is saying, I think the essence of the idea, I'm not sure if I understand the question. You're free to email me if you want to talk about this further, because sometimes I don't get the whole gist of the question on a webinar. But to be a global thinker, the root of it that makes you a good change person the same, which is you're in a highly complex environment. And so to navigate things globally means you have to have systems thinking. You got to think about how the whole thing's working together. And I would just say someone who has to do global thinking just is working in a very highly complex environment, right? So it's just degrees of complexity. And I think global, those of you that are working on global projects, you know what I mean. Like you take a thing that was hard to do when everyone came from the same culture, lived in the same, with the same values and rules and mindset, and then you bring in things like language complexity and regulation complexity and country law complexity. And so it's just it requires a lot of system thinking, and it's probably the most difficult, complex level that there is because people don't, appreciate what cultural differences that are also invisible bring to a change where you want to change your leadership expectations, right?
So,
That stuff's hard.
yeah, thank you. Clarification by global, meaning seeing the whole, not necessarily global as intentional or international, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Then I mean the same thing. Look at the whole thing. Yep. Well, good. And then you got an international lesson as a bonus. So boom. All right, let's talk about speaking truth, even if your voice shakes, the agitator skill. I'm curious, maybe it's just me, but I don't think so. I think that as change people, when we're doing that systems thinking and we find issues, sometimes we find things or have questions or concerns that are not popular and they don't align maybe with what the leadership or the project team intended or hoped for. And so it requires us to raise our hands and ask really hard questions sometimes, challenge the teams a little bit, speak honestly about, hey, without that data, it means these reports are going to be missing this thing the customer's used to. And nobody really wants to talk about that, right? They're like, we don't want to disrupt the customer, but we also don't have those in scope. So what's going to happen? And it comes down to the change person often to be the one who I say agitates, who's willing to speak the truth. Even if your voice shakes, it's not easy to be the person who says, yeah, I think we missed this requirement is a bigger deal from a customer impact size than what we originally thought. Or if we're going to add this scope, it's actually going to cost this and it's not in the budget. And we got to have a conversation about it. The project managers do that as well, but I think it's so that this applies to you as much. But sometimes it's the change person saying when the rubber hits the road, I don't think people are going to like that we're no longer valuing their service award or whatever it is, right? There's something emotionally attached to the employee group that they're going to resist and like, oh, they should get over that. Well, and I don't think they're gonna. And so being an agitator, speaking truth, being disruptive, you have to pick your battles, right? If you just, this is like, I know that you guys that do this work, you know what I mean by this. You probably don't, there's some stuff you may not choose to put on the table. And there's some stuff that if you do, you fear it's going to be career limiting, right? I read an article when I was doing the research for this talk, and this is 2 years old, but I found an article and I just thought it was very interesting that said, if you want to find the best change people in your organization, look for people that are getting a lot of shit done, but they're not getting promoted at the rate of their peers. You could just see me swallow. I was like really humbled by that. But I think it's because of this. I think that we want to influence. We want to make a difference. We want to see the right things happen. And sometimes it's not popular. And that I believe that change people are rooted in something deeper, something deeper, something deeper in right and wrong, what we think our impact needs to be, what our values are. And yeah, we're going to say the hard things sometimes. It doesn't make us popular, but it's for the good of the project. It's for the good of the team. It's the right thing to have happen. And my peers used to say, Courtney, you're not afraid sometimes to take a ball bat to a hornet's nest. And I know like there's going to be an implication to me. No one else is speaking up because they think it's not safe to do so. And I'm the idiot that does it. But that's who I am. That's what I believe in. That's what I'm good at. And I do it in a way that's not career limiting. I do it in a way that's respectful, right? You don't get to be a jerk. You don't get to be self-righteous. You just got to find a way to put the real issues on the table so that the right things happen for the project. And that, my friends, is a skill. Because when you do it poorly, you do end up being disrespectful. You get discounted. Your voice isn't heard. You don't just get to go in and complain all the time because then you're not influencing. No one's listening to you. Right? This is, I don't know if this is, I don't know what y'all think of this, but I'm just going to peek at Q&A too, Sarah. So speaking truth to power, speaking truth, even if your voice shakes, raising issues, being fearless in the face of, not fearless, you're smart, right? So fearless is, I don't like the word fearless terribly much because it implies you're not smart. Blind fear is not intelligent, but being smart about and deliberate about raising issues when they need to be raised. Because if you don't, the issue is going to come up later. And it's going to cost the team and the company and the project even more if we fix it then. So let's talk about it now, even when it's hard, right? Change people do that. Okay. Chaos pilot. I love this. I think I love this picture because it's just a little bit like reminds me of Tom Cruise and Top Gun and other things. I don't know. But a chaos pilot, by the definition, just by the words, it says you are someone who's willing to lead others when things are gray and messy and uncharted. There isn't a path. There isn't a right answer. There's no sure way that to know if this is even going to work. And you're willing to be brave in that moment and take a step. And what's so powerful about chaos pilots is they're willing to do it, but because they're leaders, people will follow them. People will follow you when it's gray, when it's messy, when it's uncomfortable. And not everybody wants to be in gray. Not everybody wants to go early. Not everybody wants to be the first one. If you think about, oh, I can't believe I'm going to use a snow analogy. It's way too early, but right, it snows and there's not a path there. And someone takes the first step before it gets shoveled. That's what a chaos pilot does. And for me personally, and maybe this resonates for some of you, like you may resist rules, process, and orders. It's not even that you're willing to take the first step in the snow. That's the only way you like to do it. If it's paved, you're just like, a paved road is boring. A paved road is, yeah, kind of been there and done that. So you may resist rules, process, and order. I'm going to say to Sarah that the mailman's at the door. I mean, 1 minute. Yep. Someone's coming right up. So don't worry, friends. I can handle it. My ADD just went squirrel all over, but I'm back. Okay. So you're willing to take a step. Others trust you and they're willing to follow. This chaos pilot thing is super important for project progress because when people are overwhelmed, when there's too many choices, when they don't know what to do, what do? The people on the team sort of sit and wait. And on your projects, you can't afford to have people sit and wait for direction. You can't have them sit and wait till it's worked out. They will choose input over output. What do I mean when I say input over output? It's scary, it's unknown, we're not sure, we can't make mistakes, we have a low risk tolerance. And so rather than taking a step and doing something, I'm gonna switch in it, which I would call output mode. Take an action, do something, move in the direction where you said you wanted to go. That's output. Instead, we go into input mode. Input mode is, well, maybe we should go get some more data. Maybe we should run another report. Maybe we should ask 10 more people. I'm going to start gathering input when I'm scared and I'm not moving. Input is not progress. And it's actually a place we hide from doing scary things and making change. So we think we're busy, right? We're like, oh, I know what we should do. We should do a survey. We should get some more data. What we really need to do is be willing to take a step. Let's move in the direction of where we need to go. Somebody has to go first. Because honestly, the only way we're going, chaos pilots believe, you have activated your strength. We believe that the only way we're actually going to figure it out is to go and do it. We're going to learn on the way. And there's no way to sit back and analyze what might be and what ifs. The truth and the reality and the actions that need to be taken lie in whatever's behind our first step. So someone's got to be willing to take it. And chaos pilots do that. In fact, they like to do it. They're very comfortable in the gray. They're very comfortable saying, we don't know what we don't know, but here's what we do. And based on that, we're going to go this way. Coming with me? And when they get there, they adapt very quickly. Like, oh, wow, okay, we didn't see that, but we do now. So what are we going to do about it? Chaos pilot. It's not for everybody, but change people who are good at it. I think I'm talking to you. You like it there. You like it there because change is the place where it's unknown. It's not comfortable. It's not defined. And somebody's got to jump in there and figure it out. And it's you. You're doing it. You're doing it for your team. Now you can say, hey, I'm a chaos pilot. Put it on your business card, put it on your resume, whatever. Let me just think for one quick second if I have anything else to say about chaos pilot. Oh, I think chaos pilots are willing to ask for forgiveness. They don't always ask for permission. And we say that a lot. And I think in some of our environments and our teams, that's easier to do than others. But I do think there's a very strong belief in a chaos pilot that the very best action they can take is some sort of action. And so they don't always wait for complete, they certainly don't wait. I use the underbaked brownie analogy every time we do a webinar. Like they do not wait till everything's fully cooked. And they're willing to tolerate a little, I think a little bit underbaked brownies is just the best. And the same thing happens with change. If we got enough information, enough direction, enough decisions, enough idea where we're headed, let's pack up and move out. And then we'll figure the rest of it on the way. And then, yeah, how much we ask for forgiveness. Yeah, I love this. So I'm just going to read the comment. I opened the Q&A without getting distracted. Chaos pilots, I think, are seasoned, servant leaders, calm, self-assured, and know how and where to obtain resources to help the team. I like that, right? It didn't say in that definition. It didn't say they know the answer. They don't. But what they do have is this degree of self-assurance and belief in the team that we will figure it out on the way together. Like there's a deep belief that it's going to be okay. Whatever we come across, we'll figure it out. Right? Yeah, love that.
Did you see the next one come in, Courtney? There's another one.
No. Do you think they don't, obviously they don't always ask for permission because we're working with people that are in input mode. Um, I'm gonna leave that to you guys to decide, but I think input mode is the behavior we adopt when we're afraid of taking action. So if you are working with leaders who are we've all heard for decades, analysis paralysis, meeting before the meeting, review before review. If you're in a culture like that, I would say absolutely. You're working for people that are, I'm going to use the word scared, and I don't mean it disrespectfully, but the risk of failure is so high that they want to be sure. And so they are going to overanalyze, analysis paralysis, review to death, and you're not going to be in a different place until you actually go do the project sometimes. At least know what you know. So yeah, I think that definitely input mode's a lie. It's a lie you tell yourself that you're doing something when you're actually not. You're thinking about taking action. You're not taking action. And this also applies, like, guys, I'm a coach, right? I'm an executive coach. Spend a lot of time with people talking about the goals they set and why they're not doing them. And it's because we get into input mode instead of output mode, which is go do the thing. Go do the thing you said you want to do. Stop reading about it. Stop talking about it. Stop, I do it too. This is a human condition. It's safer to be on input mode than output mode. Output mode's scary because we could fail. We could look silly. We could look stupid. We could be wrong. I learned about input and output from a coach because I was doing it myself. So now I just teach it to you. See how we take our scars and share them with other people? That's what we do. Love it. Thank you for the question. Fail fast and pivot. That's right. All right. So the last skill, I don't have a word phrase on it, but I'll tell you what it is. Give you all a chance. Oh, we could have a lot of fun and have you guess I already told you what it is. If you remember from the first slide, the fifth skill was called righteous responsibility. Righteous responsibility. It's the phrase I use to describe having a deep belief in right and wrong and doing whatever it takes because of that. So why would I have 3 horsetails on a slide for righteous responsibility? It's because early in my career, I worked with a woman who adored her, great, one of the better leaders I ever had in my career. And she said to me one time, she said, Courtney, this is not a parade, and we are not the pooper scoopers. Because I have a high degree of righteous responsibility. I will take responsibility for things that aren't my responsibility because it's the right thing to do. And she was getting tired of me doing that all the time. And she said, stop, it's not a parade. And I still do it sometimes. And I know you do too. As change people, we see things that need done and there's no one else to do them. And we do them because it's the right thing to do. And I think there's sometimes as human beings, we don't handle paradox very well. Like we don't like having two different things be true. Paradoxical things is two different things are true. And so I believe that righteous responsibility is a important invisible skill for change people. I also believe that righteous responsibility can be a heavy, burdensome, painful skill for change people. Right? Any strength dialed up too high can become a weakness. So it is good and normal and healthy if you're a change person to see things and take care of them and help the team and do the right thing when it needs done, especially when no one else is going to do it, especially if it's critical to the project. And if you're wired like this, there's nothing I could tell you to make you do more or less of that because you're deeply taking on righteous responsibility comes deeply from your values. You make your decisions based on your values. If you think it's the right thing to do, you're going to do it. And no one's going to tell you not to, and they're not going to talk you out of it. The caution I have and the advice I give, and my advice is never as good as I think, is to pay attention to the impacts and the effects that your righteous responsibility has on the rest of the team. So when you do it, you should tell the team you're doing it. And you should talk to them about the fact that you don't even really think it's your job. And we should talk as a project team about who should be doing it. So be open and transparent and communicate it, not in a martyr, I need a badge kind of way, but in a, hey, I'm not actually a PM or I'm not actually a BA and I did this thing that's BA work because I think it needed done, but probably on the next project, we should figure out where this really belongs, right? So you do it once, but don't do it forever. So when you communicate and share with people the things you've done, you talk to the project team openly about it. I think that's a healthy way to have righteous responsibility. Like, hey, this is not a long-term thing, but I'm going to do it right now because it's the best thing to do. The other thing you have to pay attention to is you can't, as one person with one job, you can't pick up every shell on the ocean and throw it back, right? So you cannot overwork yourself to the point of not being productive and healthy. You can't save everyone and everything and get in that mindset because you will burn yourself out trying. And that is not helping the project, that is not helping you, and that is not healthy. And so do some of it, prioritize, be intentional about your righteous responsibility. And then when you're dialing it up to a point where you're trying to catch everything that's fallen on the floor because you're scared and you're overworked and you're tired and you're in an unhealthy place, you got to figure out how to say no to things and let go of things. And I know some of you just like swallowed really hard or bristled at that because that's a hard thing to do if you're scared your project's not going to be successful if you don't. Right. So setting those boundaries and picking those things. This is an and world in righteous responsibility. Do some of it. It's who you are. And then pay attention to who you become when you take on too much of it. We don't want you unhealthy, right? You're not helping your team if you're burnt out. You're not helping your team if you're overworked. You're not helping your team if you're like really tired of it and you come in with bad energy and bad attitude because of everything you have to do around here, right? No, nobody wants that, least of all you. Okay. I'm going to stay right here for a second. I have time to tell you one other thing. I didn't bring slide for it, but I thought about adding it. Now I realize why. All of these skills. So I teach a lesson in the Navigating Change Masterclass about what people expect from change people, what we think works and what doesn't actually. And the conversation that I end up having with people is that most people expect to change people. We expect to change people with communication. We expect to change people because we told them, and maybe it goes back to influence. You can just go to the next slide, Kim, and I'll talk about this because this is what I teach in my classes. As a change, yeah, you can go to that one, that's fine. As a change person, People expect you to communicate. And as human beings, we expect that if you just tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. Like if I asked all of you, hey, I want you to conserve energy in your house, right? We can help your heating bill. We can help, use less resources. What would it take for you to start conserving energy in your house? And this has actually been done. The research has been done. The data's out there. People say, you know what? If you want me to start conserving energy and it's good for my heating bill, just tell me what to do. Tell me how to do it. Teach me, tell me, and then I'll change my behavior. And over and over again, that doesn't work. Telling people what they need to change, teaching them behavior things doesn't actually change anything. Because what's interesting about human beings is that's a form of communication, right? Tell me, teach me. And communication is just not a good tool for behavior change. It doesn't change anything. Communication only works with people that already agree with you. Now, I heard someone told me this a long time. I spent 10 years ago, something that people told me like communication only works for change for people that already agree with you. And I know I have some alum on this class that I remember your looks on your faces when you went through the master class. And I told you this, like, it's depressing because a third of our change management plans are communication. One of the things we have to realize is it doesn't work for anyone who doesn't agree with you. You can use communication to tell people who already want to save money and already want to, not use as much oil or whatever, or electric or whatever. Those people that agree with you are going to do what you said because they agree with you. And that's great because on your projects, there are people out there that agree with what you're doing. All you got to do is tell them. That's awesome. But they aren't your adoption issue. They aren't your challenge. They aren't going to keep you from reaching your goal. The things that are going to keep you from reaching your goal is everyone else, the people that don't agree with you. And when people don't agree with you, your experience and your background says, well, we just need to tell them. How many times have you had a leader say, well, let's just send them an email? Emails don't change behavior. Conversations with benefits that people don't agree with don't change behavior. What you have to build into your change management skills, and it goes into influencing, it's the most powerful skill that you have in your toolkit for influencing, is coaching. When you coach, you invite the other person to think about how they think, and you invite them to the problem, and you invite them to see how they think about it. And only then do you have a shot at them changing their behavior. People only change under 3 conditions. You know what they are? People change, behaviors change, things change. If there is authority and someone makes them, and that's only temporary. Because people won't do what authority says forever, or they get a new boss, they get a new thing. So behavior change is temporary with authority. The second time that people will change behavior is if they're going to die if they don't. Like your blood pressure is high, your blood sugars are high, you're overweight, whatever the things are, stop smoking. And even then, sometimes we don't change. And the third thing that will actually drive change for people is to connect to something of intrinsic value in the person. They want to change. And people want to change when it's something they believe in, it connects to their purpose. They think it's going to help others. They think it's going to help the company. They want to make an impact or a difference. Like when it connects to my values and I'm intrinsically motivated, then I'll change. And so all these influencing skills, all these soft skills, think about everything I just talked to you about. Influence, you got to connect to people on a personal level and intrinsically get them connected to what you're trying to do. System thinking, see the problems, help them see them so they take action that gets them there, right? Being a KLAS pilot, like people got to be motivated to take that first step and go do things and follow you. Taking righteous responsibility, we already talked about, right? So communication only works when people already agree with you. For everything else, there's these influencing invisible soft skills, and at the core of those is coaching. Be someone who can ask more questions, stay curious, be humble, be a good leader so that you connect with that person in a way that they want to do what it is you want them to do. Okay. I don't have a slide for this, but I should have. But you know what? Hey, I'm a chaos pilot. Sometimes I figure it out as I go. Here's a good example. So a little bit of a thread there, but it relates to kind of the truth at the bottom of all of this. I hope you guys resonate with the skills and you think about which ones you're good at, which ones you love, which ones you want to build. And we teach this stuff. So the slide that you've been looking at, my face for longer than I needed to see it, but that's what I do. I have a navigating change masterclass. We're actually doing a new public session of that starting October 12th, where we get into influencing decisions, assessing the impact of things, how to build a change plan and do that in a way. And all the time we are talking about coaching and reinforcing some of this stuff that makes it work. Like you can, I'll give you a tool on how to do do an impact assessment, but it doesn't work if you don't have good system thinking skills to ask people about all the issues that are going to pop up. It doesn't work if you don't have people that trust you to tell the truth. Right. So all this stuff is kind of bundled together. I also do change coaching. So it's you're just an individual, like maybe I tend to get a lot of people who want to do a career change. That's kind of change coaching. But then I also take change practitioners or project managers and help them because building these skills, a lot of times in your change role, you are the only, or you are one of 3 or 4 or 5 people that do this. And on your project team, okay, let's say some of you, I know some of you on this call, you sit on a change team. So you work with other change people. But on your project, you're the only one. And it's hard to speak truth to leadership and point out the gap in the system and influence when you're the only and you're not sure if you're doing it right and you've never done it before. So I do individual coaching so that people get a chance to say, hey, this is what I tried and this is what worked. And I think I think that went well, or I think that bombed, or I don't know if it worked at all. Is that normal? Right. And I say, yeah, everything in change is normal because it's complete and utter, whatever happens. So we do that. And then for those of you, we do have an online course. Like if you're just not sure what you need, we have a really short, this is shorter, right, than the master class, but just an introduction to change class that you can get on our website and take at any time. So I do free consultations. Like if you just want to talk to me about whatever, obviously I just talked for, let's see what the clock says, 48 minutes without taking one breath. And I probably could talk longer should you all want to stick around. But we do free consultations. So just shoot me your email, get some time on the calendar and chat. For everything else we do, Slingshot25, again, go to our website, subscribe to our web. I think we do a newsletter quarterly. Kim Garrett's like, oh, it's not quarterly, Courtney close. It is. Videos, articles, podcasts, webinars. Like we love to make content because we love building leaders and we know this information is how you learn. So we just pump out stuff for, if nothing else, our own delight, because we just like making stuff and learning things and we love sharing it with all of you. So get on our sites, follow our socials. I'm going to do an old lady thing and say, follow us on the Facebook or get on the LinkedIn or whatever, like go do that. And here's another thing, like I know most people on this call are here because we invited you. If you know someone who could benefit from our stuff, we would love it if you invited them. Like your referral basically of our work and what we do is worth so much to us. So we'd appreciate if you'd just say, hey, check out Jack Chat, check out the Shotcast. Because it really makes a difference for us to grow our business and reach more people because the whole world needs better leaders. The whole world does. So get them access to our content if you would. And with that, I think that's what I have. I have time for a question or two if we have it.
Yeah, there's one in the
Otherwise,
Q&A right now if you want to check it out.
okay. How do folks like us, the K, that's easy for me to say. Are you sure you don't want to read it, Sarah? I'm kidding. How do folks like us, chaos pilots, advance in our careers, get credit for our unspoken skills? I love this question, Nita. Like, what are you gonna say, Kim? Good question. Kim's like, oh yeah. So I really think, yeah, great question. So I really think this is a question that each person that chooses to do this work has to kind of do some internal work on and decide like what you love about this job and what your purpose is and why you do what you do. Because yeah, it's possible. Many of us have. You've gotten visibility, you've gotten credit, you've gotten rewarded for the work you do, but so much of what you do is invisible. So two things. One, use this slide and talk to people about what it is you do because you can. Like, here's what I bring that's unique, and here's some words and labels that I don't know that you had before this call. And it will empower you to talk about when you want to apply for another job. Here's why you want to hire me, because I got these invisible skills and I'm good at them and they make a difference on a project. So use this language I just gave you to promote yourself when appropriate. Talk to your teams when you're recruiting and hiring and building your team. We need more people who do this, and we need to interview for it, and we need to track people who like to do this. So use this stuff to make the invisible more concrete and bring this dialogue to your teams. That's one thing you can do. The other thing, and kind of where I started the conversation, is it's okay to kind of look at yourself, look at your values, and make a choice about why you do the work. Because for some of us in some of our worlds, to really sink into this means we may never be the senior director. And that's okay. Because I love doing this and the level I get to do it. Like, it's going to get too political. It's going to get too difficult to make a real impact up in the more, ether space. So if you really want the promotion, I'm not saying you can't have it as a change person. You need to navigate, advocate for yourself, use these words to do it. For me personally, and I don't know if it's helpful or not, like, I love doing the work and making a dent. And I didn't care what level I did that. I actually used to have really confusing career conversations because people are always asking me, what do you want to do? What are your career goals? I'm like, I don't know. I never did. I'm getting old. I never did. But there's a poem that a teacher wrote that says, I want to make a difference. I make a difference. That's what I do. I think it's Tyler Merritt. If you haven't seen the poem, it's beautiful. But like, I just kind of settled into this space and squared it with myself that wherever you put me, and I would say this to my leader, put me on projects where I can make a difference because that's what matters to me. I didn't care so much about the title. I want compensated. Obviously, I'm not stupid, but just put me where I make a difference. And the rest of itself, that will be enough for me. But that doesn't work for everybody. And don't tell yourself you're okay with that if you're not. Share these strengths in your performance reviews. How do you help move the project forward? Say a little bit more about that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So share this. Yeah. I got you. So it says share what you did in the performance review and then explain how it helps you move the project forward. Yeah, I think that's great because it takes this invisible stuff and makes it more tangible. Right? Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah, good idea. Good. All right. Any other questions? That's what relatable. That's what I want this talk to be. I want change people so you see yourselves in your work and hopefully empower you to talk more about what you do and give you some confidence when you do it. Because you're doing the right things, you're doing them the right way. Just because you're the only one doesn't make you wrong. I cannot think of a coaching conversation I've had with a change person where I haven't said that to them. You will be the only sometimes. You will be the only a lot. It doesn't make you wrong. Go make a difference. Take the first step, connect the dots for people and make a difference. That's what you get to do. Okay, if there's no other questions, we will let everyone go. Thank you for your questions, your time. We will send the recording out, share it with whoever needs to hear it. We trust that the message lands where it's supposed to go. So thank you for your help with that. Thank you for this conversation. Good to see some of you. Good to see all of you, but good to see some people. Hello out there. Thank you. Thank you.